Welcome to Rick Rack Ruby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Today we will be making this Dresden Plate winged angel ornament. She's fun and easy, so let's get started. This angel also features the Storytime 30s fabric by Riley Blake. This is a Dresden Plate, a cheater print. It's just printed on, and I think it's very charming. And I'm going to do another design with this. When I measure across, not including the little points, but just from here to here is 5.5 inches. So in order to utilize as much of this design as I can, but without the little points, I drew a pattern with my compass, 5.5 inches, a 5.5 inch circle. And then I cut that from a fusible interfacing. This is just mid-weight fusible interfacing, and it's very easy to line up because you can just, take the edge of the interfacing right to the edges where the points begin, right there. So I'm going to iron that onto the back of this fabric, and then I'm going to cut it out just around the circle. The next thing I want to do is fold it in half and stitch along this curved edge. But before I do that, I want to just take care to be sure that I know where I'm headed. So for instance, which side do I want to be the front? And I'm going to say, I'll put right here the front because I'm using red baker's twine for the bow. And if I put something red here, it'll just be too confusing. There'll be no contrast. And if I put the bow here, there should be some contrast. So I'm going to fold it like this, and it's really important when you fold to fold right on the line. I did one where I folded, I was matching up the points, I think, and I wound up just with half of a wedge here and here. And it just didn't look quite right. So be sure that you're folding along those lines between the wedges, and be sure that you know which colors, which fabrics you want at the front. So I want this to be my front. So I'm actually going to put an F right here. So I can tell after I sew it, this is going to be the front. Sometimes when it's inside out, it's really hard to remember which you wanted to be the front. So let's see. There are 16 wedges, so I'm folding 8 and 8, matching up the seam. It's not really a seam, it's just a line in between the fabrics because they're not really seamed, they're just printed. And then I'm going to pin this and stitch around the curved edge with a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. Here we go. Now I'm going to use my pinking shears to trim the seam allowance. I'm going to do this over the garbage can. So it looks like this. And now, since I know this is the front, I'm going to cut an opening here. I like to usually kind of fold to determine the center. Make a little T or a little plus sign there, but not all the way up to the fold. Then I'm going to kind of pinch that, making sure I don't cut through this, the back, only in the front, and then I'll just cut up that little plus sign. And then I'm going to turn this through the opening. It's not hard. If you're struggling, then you probably didn't make the opening big enough, and it's fine to go ahead and make it bigger because there's lots of stuff that's going to conceal that little opening. Now I'll use my chopstick to get all the seams out. And just to be sure that I have that edge nice and crisp, I'm just moistening my fingers and sort of rolling that seam allowance so that I have a nice edge here. That looks pretty good. Okay, remember this is the front. So the part with the opening is the front. Now I'm going to go and press this flat. Now I will top stitch along the edge here. And you can do a plain top stitch or you can do a decorative stitch. I'm going to try something that is a straight stitch, but it goes back and forth a little bit, so it looks a little bit thicker. There we go. I want to show you that I got a little hitch right here. I don't know what happened, it just got stuck, and so I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to take it out. I'm not going to start over. But when I tie my bow here, I'm going to just make sure one of those streamers ends up right there to kind of conceal that. Okay, now the rest of the project is really simple. I have a little round face. I've already made the face. Here we go. And you can find the instructions for the Rick Rack Ruby face in my Focus on Faces video. This is a 1-inch half ball from wood. Then I also have these yo-yos. I showed you this before. I picked this up at, like an antique stall or something, and it's like somebody had a bunch of leftover yo-yos from different projects and just kind of sewed them all together. And of course I couldn't resist that. So I've cut a couple, but I think I'm going to go with the pink. So the yo-yo, and the yo-yo is maybe like 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. You can use whatever you like. Okay, now I just measured it and it's 1.5 inches. So I'm going to apply some glue to the back of this. And then I'm going to place it right in the middle. And then the top edge of the yo-yo is at the top edge of this wing piece. And you can see that opening for turning is completely concealed. Then next I'm going to glue the face on. So I'll apply some glue to the back of the face. And then when I glue that on, again, I'm placing it so the top edge of the head is at the top edge of the wings. So this is her collar. I'll show you some of my first ones that I made. So this one, you can see that I kind of put the yo-yo up too high, and so it barely shows as a collar. So that was not a very good idea. Besides that, this one's okay. And then this one, I used half of an egg instead of a round ball, so it's a little bit different look. But this is the one that I folded in the middle so that I would have this center wedge instead of folding it right on the line. So you can see I wasn't totally happy with that. Anyway, I think this one's going to be just right. Okay, so next I want to add a hanging loop. I'm using red and white baker's twine, and I'm just going to sew through right here at the top of the head. There we go. And that looks good. Now we will add her hair. I'm going to use these 2 yarns. This one is a very fine loopy mohair, and this one, I'm not sure, it's kind of fuzzy. I got it at the thrift store, but it's also very fine. If you have a thicker yarn, you'll need fewer loops. So I'm going to do 8 loops. And I'm just using these 2 fingers, but I'm spreading them out. Okay, I gotta focus. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, 7, 8. I only need one bundle. And then I'm going to wrap the top one all the way around the center and then use this first end to tie it. Okay, here we go. Tie it in the center. So I have a figure 8 bundle tied off in the center. That looks good. Great. So I will add a generous amount of hot glue to the top of her head. I'll just go right across here, like that. And then I'm pressing the center of the bundle onto the top of her head. And then I'll twist each side toward the back, like this, and secure those on the sides. I can trim these now. So I added some glue there on the side, and then I just twist this back and press that into the glue. Hold it for a second. And then the same thing on this side. So twist and press that into the side. That looks good. Now I'm going to add a little bow underneath her neck, and I'll use this red and white baker's twine. Just tie a bow. There's no secret or magic to it. Okay, that looks about right. So I'll add a little bit of glue here, and I'll press that just below her chin. This side has a little twist in it, so I'm going to untwist it and secure it. I think I need to secure it right here. So I put a little bit of glue right there, and then I'm just going to press that onto the surface. Now remember how I was a little bit distressed about this little wonky stitching? So I think I'll just tie a knot here and press the knot right there to disguise that. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So I'll add a little bit of glue to the bottom of this knot, and then I'm going to press it right there where the stitches are a little bit wonky. And then I'll do the same to this one. You know, I hardly ever show my glue gun in any of my videos because it's so yucky. All right, so there's my bow. And then I like to add a little bit of some kind of a trim to the front of the bow. I have these little lace flowers. It just brings back that vintage look. And it also helps to assure that the bow stays tied. Then I have some gold wire for the halo. This is 20 gauge gold wire. This is not like jeweler's wire. It's craft wire. About like that. And then I'll add a drop of glue to each end. And I'll press those into the hair behind the head. Try to make sure it's secure. That looks good. Then there's one more touch, and I think I'm going to use these. I haven't used these yet, but I think they'll work. This is just like a big lace flower, almost like an applique. And I want to glue it to the back of her head to kind of look like a corona behind her head. So I'm going to apply some glue to the, oops, almost did it wrong, to the front of the applique. And then I'll position it behind her head. like that. Now I do want to trim her hair a little bit. Make sure everything looks just right. And this angel is done. I'm still not sure what I'm going to call her. I already have a Dresden Plate. Maybe I'll do Dresden Plate Winged Angel. How's that sound? Thank you for watching my tutorial. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share, and subscribe.